we've got all that sorted away, so we should be able to go through the map ban phase now and find out where we're actually going to play this game.
The last time these two teams played each other, it was in Playday number 3, and all of our matches are going to be a rematch of Playday number 3. So if anybody wants to look back at former matchups to see how a possible tiebreaker scenario would work out, then go to Playday number 3. It was a 7-3 victory for Singularity on Coastline, and we almost go back there, but Singularity bans Coastline out. They had an opportunity to have a rematch against INTZ on the map that they humbled them on many weeks ago. They don't decide to do that. They go for Border instead. What do you think the theory behind that would be?
Well, it is one of their best maps overall statistically, although, one of their best maps. They've got 3 maps in the last few months that they've managed to win on one time each. Border is one of those maps. However, it is also a good map for INTZ, so keep that in mind. In terms of actual win-loss ratio, this is INTZ's best map. So having played it, it's the same thing for INTZ as it is for Singularity. In the last few months or so, they both of these teams have managed to win on 3 different maps. Border is one for both of these squads, but INTZ hasn't lost on Border. They've only played it the one time recently. Going into this, I'd say it's going to be a good map for both teams, and I expect them to bring their all to something like this. There's no excuses.
I'm curious to see what the community has to say here with how Singularity has been seemingly on an upward trend, but despite that, despite the fact that INTZ only have 6 rounds under their belt in the last 3 playdays, INTZ is still going to come out ahead in terms of the community poll. 46% for INTZ, 45% for Singularity.
That is just about the closest community poll we've ever had. I don't think it is. I think we've had a perfect 45-45-10, but it is very nearly that. And I can't say that I'm surprised. Going into this, you really are kind of guessing as to who's going to be able to win this one, to be real.
I mean, if you're INTZ, you've got to imagine that the goalposts would be 3 rounds at an absolute minimum. At that point, I think you've got to achieve for 3 rounds, and if you do that, you've beaten your expectations if you're INTZ as a team. Singularity obviously want to continue to climb up these standings, but man, that's you set the bar so low for INTZ that you can basically trip over it.
I have to be fair to INTZ though. They've been playing some of their hardest opponents through these last 3 playdays. Like if we're being honest, they've had some really tough matches, and this should be their first opportunity, their first break from playing against some of the top dogs in Latin America, unless you count MIBR. But then MIBR is in 4th place. They are on the top half, so it's. But yeah, Singularity also has more points than INTZ going into this, but it's better than playing against FaZe. It's better than playing against NIP. So we'll see if they can hit those 3 rounds. We'll see. Maybe INTZ is actually going to be able to push this to a draw or maybe even a win, but we're not going to know until we actually get into the action. And again, as I said at the beginning of the broadcast, Latin America is always that region that tends to surprise us. So expect that to be a strong possibility.
What better map to be full of surprises on than Border as well? You've got INTZ, who's coming in with very low expectations. Certainly from us, I'm assuming that while the players likely have high expectations, these teams are also aware, just like every other region is, that with the Sao Paulo finals canceled, you're playing for bragging rights and money. You're not really playing for glory the same way. And I don't honestly know Latin America's situation. I have no idea if there are relegations or not. So that's something that, I don't want to speculate on. But these teams are not, neither of these teams are really in a position where they need to worry. If you look at the standings right now, INTZ are 5 points ahead of Team 1 with, a possible 9 points after today. Unless something goes catastrophically wrong for INTZ or Team 1 just become, much better than they have been over this entire season, then I think you're pretty safe. So I expect some crazy things, lots of shenanigans to be afoot between these 2 squads, given that it's Border and given the fact that both of them like to play a wild style of Rainbow Six Siege.
So we're going to load in, and it'll be INTZ starting on defense, which means they get the first ban. I don't know, Buck, maybe? Just going to throw a random man out there. Nope, not sure. All right. So Thatcher Band, probably. What do you think, Parker? You got a guess for this one?
I mean, we've seen some soft destructor bans. We've seen a Buck ban before. Latin America loves to ban Maverick. It looks like we're going to have a rehost. That's unfortunate, but it's a Buck ban, so it was my first guess. We've been seeing a lot of Thatcher Buck bans, even on maps where it doesn't necessarily make the most sense. With Thatcher off the board, most teams are going to run a Maverick unless they're just going to decide to go for greater soft destruction and keep a Thermite or Hibana on the board. Thermite, of course, is a very popular operator for a lot of Latin America lineups, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see that instead.
Go Valkyrie, and it's an Echo. All right. Well, we're getting a rehost now, so how are things, Parker?
Michael, they are great. I made a spicy chili tuna wrap for lunch with some a little bit of mayonnaise because I don't particularly like it that much, with some diced tomatoes, jalapenos, and onions, and then I wrapped it in a lettuce wrap. What about yourself, Michael? How was your day? What did you make for food?
I actually just woke up about an hour and a half before this broadcast,
Perfect.
and I had a bowl of cereal, and then I brushed my hair, put on clothing, and sat down to do this broadcast. So I haven't actually had any real food yet. There's actually some apples over there waiting for me to be ready to eat them, but that won't happen till a break.
Have you rolled down the neck of the turtleneck? I can't quite tell with this visual fidelity if you have. It is rolled down.
Yeah, it's rolled down.
You look really smart. I like that. It's like a peacock blue, like a royal peacock. I think it looks really good on you, man.
Thank you. I like the pink shirt. I didn't know we were doing. Are we doing? We're doing shirts now. Because if we're doing shirts, that opens up a lot for me.
Well, I mean, it's a sweater. I've seen Milos run it. I've seen Milos. Well, yeah, it's a long sleeve shirt / sweater, I guess. But
I think what do they call those, jumpers somewhere else?
I think so. It's the same style of shirt I've worn on the Pro League broadcast before, and I've seen Milos wear it a couple times, or shirts similar a couple times. So I was just like, you know what, why not? So
I'm wearing the same ones. Yeah, I've got one other blue without the neck, so it's like the same thing, but I couldn't tell because the angle. Yeah.
No, I get it. And the funny thing is that a lot of people see me, and at first glance, they're like, whoa, why is Parker shirtless? Which is a very good question to ask, but unfortunately, I'm not. I apologize to everybody that's watching that is yearning to see me shirtless on a professional broadcast. I don't really think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It's definitely very unlikely that we're gonna go that way. I mean, anything's possible. You know, you could just lose your sanity at some point, go absolutely bonkers and bananas, and decide to come onto one of these broadcasts shirtless. I mean, I just don't expect it.
You know, I think at some point production would obviously draw the line at me likely not having any clothes on, you know? And even though I have no doubt that being topless would do wonderful things for viewership, you know, that's it. I think they'd say no.
Actually, production's saying that, yeah, no, they'd say no. It's a no.
That's a no. Oh, well, you know what? We tried. Thanks, production, because, you know, I could very quickly change my getup for the next matchup. If we really wanted, I could very easily be shirtless if you so choose.
I don't think we need to do that. We don't need to do that.
I mean, I'm kind of warming up to the idea, if I'm being completely honest.
You know what? Let's table that. I think we've got the match ready. We should be able to actually load into the game now, and hopefully, for all our sakes, we won't have to rehost it once more. We'll come back to that shirt conversation at a later date.
I mean, it is a rite of passage that there be a rehost, so we've gotten it out of the way. I believe it was Milos and Emzo on the Tuesday broadcast who were very specifically saying, you know, we've gotten the one rehost out of the way. It's our government mandated rehost, just as people have government mandated walks. It's nice to see that we've gotten what we have come to be known as our daily rehost or match rehost gone. It's no longer in question. We've done it. We've arrived.
Yep. So all extra rehosts from this point on are going to be on a bonus kind of platform instead of the mandatory. You always get those little, it's like when you're eating through a bowl of like peanut butter chocolate ice cream and you get like that really big nugget.
I cannot relate to eating chocolate ice cream, but thank you.
Oh yeah, that's true. You can't do that anymore.
That's fine.
You've done that before though. You did that before, right?
In a previous life, I was capable of eating ice cream.
You got that really late. Like really late. Didn't you?
It's like all type 1 diabetics say, better late than never.
Well, yeah, of course. All right, so we've got Armory as the first bomb site here for INTZ. Goyo being brought. Well, my Jaeger, Maestro. Oh boy, this is like the epitome of the current meta. You've got both of the anti-throwable, anti-nade operators. I'm gonna call them denial operators from here on out. You've got the Maestro and the Goyo to be protected by the Jaeger and the Womai, and then you've got the Mozzie for the anti-information. There's so many layers to INTZ's setup, and luckily for Singularity, they have brought the required healers, so they're going to be able to work at that.
Unsurprisingly, it's going to be an East take, and that isn't necessarily indicative of it being an Archives execute, but it sure looks like we're not going to see Singularity change up too much. The only member of that team that was looking over towards the western side of the map happened to be KDS as he was trying to flush somebody out of what appeared to be break room, but no, the play is very clearly going to be Archives. But first, you have to tackle offices, and there's a long hallway from all the way from East Stairs down towards 90 that needs to be tackled. The first one's going to be a deployable shield, and it looked like an Ash charge was expended appropriately by Hunter to try and do some damage. But we see firsthand both the magnets and the ADSs working together, and it appears that they might have finally been cleared out by all of the flashbangs tossed in.
It's that way. Singularity looking for an opportunity to nade someone, maybe get rid of the shield. Looks like it's going to be focused on the shield, but there's another disc from Womai that has to be dealt with. The nade goes in, and that will get the shield. So now it's going to be harder for the defenders to challenge into office. And all this time, Singularity have just spent about a minute and a half clearing out 2 shields. And, well, that's it. That's what they've got.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Not all that much in their hand. And Singularity, I had expected to be a little bit more aggressive with this take, maybe a little bit less predictable. Less predictability, though, seems to be the name of the game for Hunter, as he'll engage in a deep flank down below to maybe come up and catch somebody from INTZ, unsuspecting, over towards the top of Metal, which is where Rise is right now. Rise gets his second kill, looking for another, but he won't be in anybody's line of sight. 3 members of INTZ have now been taken off of the board with 30 seconds left. Vitz peeks up onto the hole that was created in Armory Wall, a bit of a cheeky play by him, and he makes mincemeat of Rise before being traded off, albeit a little bit later than expected. And the very final member of INTZ, it's the Womai. He'll peek out right into the line of sight that Lenda had. Both kills basically coming from the very same postal code. Singularity took quite a while to find their footing, but they did so quite quickly after that, and everything came together in about 20 seconds for them to take round number 1.
Great job there from Lenda for holding the right angle, right time, right place, doing his job covering that flank. Or not really a flank, I guess covering the frontal assault. Meanwhile, Singularity, while going for the plant, were also simultaneously sweeping in through CCTV and picking apart the INTZ players one after another. Any main critique that I have for INTZ is that they weren't actually participating in the round. The way that they ended up playing that was basically, I'm going to sit in this position, I'm going to wait here, and I'm not going to move. No, sir, you can't make me move. You can't make me do anything. I'm going to sit here. And then eventually, Singularity realizes this. After taking out the shields that added layers to the defense, they progressed to the bomb site, determined that there was no actual resistance being put up by INTZ, walked into the bomb site and started to plant. Then INTZ, panicking, attempted to retake and failed. We'll go for a rehost. Number 2, so we're getting our bonus nuggets of rehosts.
Oh, that's nice. I was wondering, you know, we had our
More
first
of that, please.
We had our first our first state sanctioned rehost so that people could get up and stretch their legs and go walk around and all that jazz. Maybe get the blood flowing, but you know, that's not great. You just got up and went for your walk? Is that what you did? You're just gonna eat on the camera? Okay. Well, anyway, he's just gonna eat on the camera. I hope all of you are staying nice and hungry as well. Anywho, we've got our second free rehost. We could even call it a free host, maybe, Michael? Would you call it a free host? He would call it a free host. So that's one round in, and hopefully, regardless of what happens with these rehosts and tech issues from players crashing, we don't have as long of a day as we had yesterday. I don't know if people tuned into the match in EU that we did, but both Milos and myself ended up, I think it was like 5.5 hours, almost 6 hours or something like that we ended up casting for. It was a very long EU matchup, and there was actually a period of time because there was issues with, like, Twitch was having issues, servers were having issues, there was tech issues, players were having issues, Uplay was having issues. It was just like every single thing bandwidth wise was going wrong in the entire world. There was actually some worry on my end, at least, before we started that fourth matchup, where I was like, are we going to finish in time for North American Pro League? Because there's usually a 2-hour buffer, but we got it done in time.
Yeah, it looked like it was pretty close. I remember, because I woke up right before the broadcast started, and this was when I was going to get started. I remember waking up and being like, wait a minute, why is Europe still going? Because usually there's a little bit more time in between, so that must have been a really long day. This one today, I mean, we've only just gotten started, so there's not much to talk about, but it's looking a lot like we're going to have a kind of a similar day here, where we get a lot of that, constant churning, just to make sure, you got to slow churn the ice cream. You got to make sure it's nice and rich. And it looks like that's what we get here, is lots of suspense that's built up between the rounds rather than during the rounds.
Yeah, we'll get everybody back in the lobby here, and suspense between the rounds. I am waiting on bated breath. For this to get back underway. Hard to really analyze and break down what we saw on that very first round, because it was just such a small snapshot of this matchup. Singularity's control came out from Office. They just wore away at the utility that was presented from the defenders, which I think is obviously the main focus, the point, etc. And I got to give some praise to the way that Singularity tackled it. The moment that it looked like the flashbangs from the Ash were gone and the breaching rounds from the Ash were gone, you saw Hunter decide to go downstairs and emerge over towards Armory. And it was just a systematic clear of Fountain, of offices, of 90, of break room, of CCTV, and then Office, and then Archives itself, basically leaving the final two members of INTZ inside of Armory. If you saw, they had one player seating by 90. You had one player inside of CCTV / security. You had two players playing inside of the bomb site over by Armory wall, and then you had another inside of Archives playing by Fountain. It wasn't a bad setup by INTZ. The map control that they held was just really in monitors, which is something that we see an awful lot of. And the setup was countered brilliantly by Singularity, because INTZ was expecting more of an Armory take, which is why you saw that Armory wall shot out. You saw the monitors wall shot out. They were anticipating a team pushing from that direction, but instead Singularity droned it out, made the call, will attack Archives, and did a much better job of it than I think would have ended up happening if they had tried to pressure Armory.
Again, I'll restate. I think that the big thing that I noticed in that round was, Singularity, they came up with a pretty standard take. They did it really well. It was kind of maybe a little slow, but I mean, as you expect in this meta. And then INTZ didn't put up much of a fight at all. That's the main thing that I'm taking away from that last round, is that INTZ did not try to take any fights. They they just waited. They played a position and they waited. And it wasn't necessarily like they were playing scared. It's, we're not to the point where I can say that they're going to play like that yet, because I don't have enough, to really talk about to say that definitively. But It was more like they weren't playing to control anything. They were just playing to hold a position. And instead of exerting their power over that position by their presence, they were just waiting in it. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it any better than that, but we've got the match loaded up. So assuming we don't have to do any more rehosts, assuming all the settings are correct, we should be able to actually just keep this ball rolling.
Armory lockers again for INTZ, with what you said was a perfect encapsulation of the meta. So you've got Wamai, you've got Jaeger, you've got the Kaid and the Goyo. Goyo, of course, will be great for wearing away at the attacker's gadgetry, especially their explosives, if they're not caught by the ADS or the magnet. I am wondering, the Maestro obviously being changed out, I am wondering if there's going to be the same style of map control that's held by INTZ. I don't know if they're going to align all of their forces over by security in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. You can see it. It's called monitors, it's called security, it's called CCTV. A lot of different people refer to it as various things. It's where VNX was just located. It's where Alimao was playing before. And it looks like he's going to go back in there with the rotate hole that's created at 90, and there was a deployable shield to assist him that was positioned nearby as well, underneath that 90 cam. Because if so, what is INTZ really going to do differently? Their only operator lineup they've changed is they've subbed out the Maestro for a Mozzie, which is probably an even greater amount of meta being sprinkled onto their defense here.
Yeah, I suppose so. We've got an interesting lineup from both teams that are... thought that was like a... It looked like Souls was going to lose connection for a second there. I was a little bit worried, but yeah, the overall lineups from both teams, I mean, pretty standard, pretty much what you expect, and very in line with the meta, like you said. The Kaid being brought is to electrify the triple wall that you can see right here, as INTZ has detected that there's decided focus from Singularity on the office side, and they're trying to counter that push. Will likely be naded. I'm guessing that's what's going to be attempted here by Lenda in a bit. But they have to clear out the ADS before they go for the nade. So here go all of your stuns. There's 2 ADSs, means more stuns needed. So probably Hunter will throw his stuns over there, and then he'll check for another ADS. Maybe it's 3 ADSs. And then once they know how many ADSs there are, they'll throw a nade over, get the Kaid, open the wall with the thermite, and move forward. They have to use maybe 2 nades, though, because the Kaid Electroclaws, well, you can double up on them. So if the first one's destroyed, Kaid can throw a second one from a distance. That's why he's so powerful, is his distance. And then you can open the wall. Now, Hunter is going for the Ash Charge from below, but that might not have destroyed the Kaid. He'll probably have to get an angle on it to shoot it. Yeah, as you can see, he'll have to actually shoot it from below if he wants to do it that way, because they're not bandit batteries. They're not placed on the floor. We don't know where the Electroclaw is, but again, this has managed to waste already 2 minutes of the round, and could potentially waste much more if Singularity doesn't find a way to destroy that Electroclaw. I'm surprised the nades didn't work out, but I guess maybe they ran out of those already. So they'll have to try a different attack, maybe? Lenda's gonna eat some damage from Drunks using customs, holding a long angle to try and deny the nade.
KDS hasn't even really gotten much closer to the building than we'd imagine. He's still out by spawn with Singularity lined up over by that archives or office wall rather, and that triple panel is still, as we can see from the explosives, unable for Singularity to get through. They're wasting an awful lot of time, and a lot of this is the similar setup that we saw from INTZ, but the Electroclaw obviously working very differently than we had seen in the previous round. Much greater challenge for Singularity to get that open. They don't really have time to rush over to Armory, as the Armory setup has obviously been constructed to cause a great deal of discomfort. All that soft destruction that's been done by INTZ is working well, but Singularity is winning its gunfights, as I'd imagine INTZ is getting caught in this rotate, leaving just 2 members on site. And yet again, they're over in Armory. They're isolated from where the execute is happening. Vitz and Drunks will need to push on up. The Mozzie is looking for a rotate. Huge C4 from Vitz to take out Souls and Rise. And it's a 2v1. Lenda going for the diffuser down. The Mozzie will have to rotate out. Can Drunks stop him? He will be caught in the cross, established at the top of metal. He snaps onto Lenda. Very limited HP. Both he and Hunter are so low. All the Ash needs to do is buy time, but Drunks a massive clutch. He'll be able to get that diffuser as well with plenty of time. And round number 1 will go to INTZ in the post plant.
That round was all kinds of messy. It started off with Singularity not being able to find the Electroclaw that was hindering their advance. So they decide to try and do something different. Try to attack from a different angle, just move around the rock in the stream. So they do. And they start picking up kill after kill after kill. And it looks like Singularity can't be stopped because, well, INTZ are not putting up much of a fight in terms of the guns coming alive. And then suddenly a C4 double kill onto Singularity as they attempt to rush into Archives. A pre-placed C4. And, well, now INTZ are back into the round. But still, Singularity managed to get it into a post plant. And I know you think to yourself, well, that's just dandy. You know what? Post plant 2v1. Singularity got this. This should be easy for them. But then, neither of the players from Singularity decide to play that in a way that is, I guess, adhesive to the post plant like thought process. I don't know. They didn't play it like a post plant. They played it like a 2v1, or like a team deathmatch. So instead of trying to play that from any angle that's safe, protected, and can still deny the disable of the diffuser, they decided to try and both of them take the fight. Obviously, as you guys saw, that was a mistake. Great job to Drunks for capitalizing upon that mistake, being in the right time at the right place and really seizing the opportunity. You know, again, that is not always the case. So you have to give accolades to Drunks here for his impressive performance in that round.
Hunter just looked like he did not have the reaction time required either. He was just sitting at the top of metal detectors expecting somebody to peek over, but Hunter wasn't playing it that aggressively. He was far more passive in the way that he held that control, and he did miss the opportunity standing at metal detectors to take the Mozzie. He fell back right after Lenda got that diffuser down. Hunter peeled off rather than getting not more aggressive, but at least just holding the position that he was at. And if he'd held that position, he actually would have been able to shut down the rotate from Drunks and therefore give his team the round. So those are just some smaller mistakes. I think the bigger mistake from Singularity was how long it just took them to be able to get control. You know, they got their wits about them way too late in the round, and while they were able to push up and win their duels, they still let a great opportunity slip through their fingers. And a lot of it was that they were very hasty at how they executed. They pushed into Archives. They sat too close together. That C4 goes out. There's nobody from Singularity, 2 members of Singularity, and nobody is watching that Kaid who's going to push up and throw the C4. Those are just small little errors, but those kinds of things when there's only 10 seconds left on the clock, those small errors end up becoming entirely round deciders, and that's what we saw in the previous round. So as we turn our sights towards customs, we'll see if the clock will be as big of an adversary for Singularity as it was in the previous round.
90 position, very powerful. See if Duds is able to do something from it. He's rotating between 90 and CCTV. Singularity have decent control, and looks like that Jaeger has just completely fallen back. It makes sense, though. I mean, there's only a minute left. That custom site selection for INTZ is really odd, and it's caught me off guard. But who knows? Maybe it'll work for INTZ. They did get the first kill. There you go. Rise gone, and with Lenda on low HP, it's looking pretty solid here, to be honest. Control is established for Singularity, but they've only got a little bit of time, and the sledge needs to do more work on the floor for that control to really mean something. I'm wondering where Singularity is looking to execute from, because it seems like they want to go in through jail, as they've got Souls with the diffuser and exothermics outside of jail right now. He could open that wall.
He's not opting to do so, at least not yet, as the off-site presence from INTZ is just slowly being discovered. And Hunter and KDS will be in pursuit of the Valkyrie down below. The alibi slips through the fingers of Singularity and manages to find one. Drunks and Elimao are both gone. Jail wall is open, Souls is in, but he does not have anywhere near enough intel to be able to capitalize off of a site execute. Hunter finds Vitz, but oh no, right into the Jaeger. It's Souls backing up, and Duds on the ground picks up another. They'll just line up, pushing one by one, and he'll get all 3 of them. Duds, his position called out. He doesn't even need to move a muscle. Extremely well played. Pre-fires galore, and he cannot be moved from that position. Every single member of Singularity finding their death at the hands of the Jaeger prone on the ground, and INTZ will pick up their second round in a row.
Oh man, well played the Duds. He just proned in the corner, and So Singularity didn't drone out the site before they pushed into it, and they didn't check the site before they pushed into it. Sorry, I could almost, Parker, when you said backing up, I could almost hear the beep 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 of that thermite as he backed into the bomb site and died. I don't know what the thought process was there for Souls. He needed to clear, or at least establish that it was clear, like get some information, the bomb site before just backing into it. Following that, Singularity just one after another trying to 1v1 duds. You hate to see it. Great job to duds though. Again, a lot of players in that position would have mucked it up somehow, and he didn't. And that is key. It's very important to remember. So props to him for that. The rest of the round, Singularity got control above very slowly. They did very little with that control, and then they went for the gunfights in the bomb site, and it didn't work out.
Time is honestly the enemy of the Singularity squad, and really goes to where we're at. It really goes to show you where we're at in the meta. You know, it's not even necessarily Singularity mismanaging their time. It's just everything that you need to accomplish as an attacking team. And if you look at what INTZ is bringing, you summed it up before we even got into the very first round. This is the epitome of the meta. You're seeing a double up on the, you know, the denial operators of both Jaeger and Wamai. You're seeing breach denial being brought, and it's being executed very well from INTZ and to prevent Singularity from gaining information that they need, from gaining map control that they need, and being able to engage in those gunfights, which Singularity needs to do. Singularity, obviously, is a very mechanically gifted team, and with a newer team that is still trying to find this footing, it shouldn't really surprise anybody that they are having some issues with the way that they coordinate well together. All of this said, it's the very final defense for INTZ before they can go back to Armory, which is a site that they struggled on the first time, but managed to win with a clutch the second times. And it's a very defendable site, but also worth mentioning. INTZ has now gotten the average amount of rounds that they have over the last 3 play days. They have gotten only 2 rounds, and they're already at that 3 rounds in. So they might be able to clear this bar that we talked about when it comes to expectations.
And not just the average, but the absolute maximum. So we'll see if they can push it past that maximum. As it's looking a lot like they will. Singularity have managed to take control of Office. It only took them 2 minutes. And with that control, they can do very little since the bomb site is ventilation. They're going to need to do more in terms of the top 4 clear. Rise sees an enemy, directly lines up the shot, but does not pull the trigger. Taking a role as a humanitarian very seriously. Duds will take down KDS. Singularity losing men as they attempt to clear into break room. That's Duds on the CCTV roam. He hasn't had the best play so far from that position, but he's going to do some work this round at least. Fitz, not paying attention to the archives push, will die to Rise, who says, "Thank you very much, I will take that." And now, we're back to an even man count as we hit the last 30 seconds.
All it took was that one opening pick, but Singularity are still just a ways out from being able to get to Workshop. Smokes will go off in bathrooms, so your push that's going to come in from the attackers is going to need to be a little bit more streamlined. Guns coming alive from both teams, still leaving us an equal footing as that pendulum swings back and forth. No return to the site from the Wamai, who is deep flanking. That's Souls to catch him off guard. Diffuser in the hands of Singularity. They'll have to go for the plant. The Thermite doing as much work as he can. He finds another, and there you go. Questionable for INTZ to peak every single remaining member of Singularity. Hubris, maybe, I'm not entirely sure, but Singularity just very happily takes the head off of every remaining member of INTZ, and we are back tied up between these two teams through 4 rounds.
Souls is very happy about that one. Right time, right place, everybody peeking him, and he just lines up the shots, hits them. Good job to him for securing that round. Looking pretty desperate for Singularity for a solid chunk of that round. In the way that it was actually shaping up, it was getting full control of the engagements, but a few mistakes made here or there for INTZ end up being their undoing. So I want to talk real quickly about one key part of that. It was Vits inside of Armory. So generally speaking, if you are on a solo roam, and you have no information tools to give you info on the lanes that you can be attacked from, you need to have some sort of impediment, some sort of hurdle for the enemy to jump over that is going to prevent you from just getting walked up on by a 3-speed, as happened in that last round to Vitz. It was, I believe, Rise on the IQ who just kind of walked through Archives into Armory and saw free kill and took it. So what do I mean? What kind of hurdles can you put up? Well, there are a couple different options. 1, you can barricade doorways. 2, you can put up some barbed wire. 3, again, information tools are great. 4, shields are a big option in this meta, whether they be regular shields or Goyo shields. At the very least, they will force a vault and give you a prompt to react to. It's that sound. But the thing that you should not do, and as it was highlighted perfectly by Vitz, so thank you for that, is just... Oh, and I forgot this one. This is actually important. You can also just hold the door if you're not sure if you have control of it or not. Anyway, but what happened there, what shouldn't happen, and what happened there was he was holding a different angle because he had too many angles to account for, because he had too few layers of prompt to give him information on where he's being pushed from, and that caused quite a lot of problems.
Adeptly said, my good friend. So, round number 5, and a slower play from Singularity over the previous 4 rounds has not netted them as bad of a result as you'd imagine. I do like that Singularity have made a change that I was going to comment on, given the lack of success that the Thermite was bringing, and that's over the last few border matches, regardless of region, a lot of teams are instead substituting a Hibana or a Thermite and just opting for Maverick on border. And, we've seen a couple teams just run a Maverick. It's because he's able to cut away at the panels. There's no way for you to pressure those panels other than just simply shooting through the openings that have been created by the Maverick. So once you get some of that metal wall off, as is shown on the screen right there, you can just soft destruct it. And Duds decides to linger a little bit longer than he needs to, and he gets removed from the server. 90 seconds in, and there you go. A little bit of space for Singularity to work with. The last member from INTZ who is just waiting to hold off the play that's going to come out from Singularity is the Mozzie of Drunks, playing inside a fountain right now. I don't think he's been droned out, but Singularity's attacks on this site have been very, very similar, and they've been able to open that wall up with much greater success simply because of the Maverick play. Really well done from them when it comes to speed, and now you can begin to work a little bit faster with the rest of this round. Down goes Via next to a frag grenade. That's a Wamai. Always humorous when you see that happen. And now Drunks is the next in the line of sight. Wall not reinforced. 3 members within 40 seconds removed, and the counterpunch will have to come in from INTZ. It's starting with Ali Mao. He's all the way over in break room. He's going to have to rotate through 90. This is not ideal. Either that, or he walks in towards Armory with the door closed. Diffuser goes down, and his job is now virtually impossible. He can't outduel the Ash, loses half of his HP in the process, sneaks around the corner, and no, misses more than one shot. Singularity capitalize off of the Maverick play. They make the changes they need, and they break into the site much faster than before, and take the round quite quickly.
So, INTZ with an solid hold of CCTV, but that's mostly down to Singularity not actually trying to take CCTV in that round. The execution on the Archives again for Singularity took a lot of time, but inevitably, it seems, they were able to take control of Archives and get that plant off. This time around, INTZ's setup for holding the Archives was the same as the first time, with that C4 already pre-placed below, but it was detonated preemptively before anyone was in Archives. And then the player who had the C4 tried to retake Archives and got caught in a cross from 90, I believe, or from just Office, to be honest, because there were plenty of holes opened up by Singularity. Could have been either or, probably more likely Office, considering there was no CCTV control from Singularity, and thus likely not anyone playing in 90 to cut off rotation for most of that round. But what is certain is that INTZ's setup to hold on to Archives was pretty lackluster. And the way that they tried to do it was half in, half out, if that makes sense. So, for example, they had Drunks playing in Fountain. That's their half in. And then they had basically no other grasp on the bomb site, and that's their half out. Generally speaking, if you're going to play somebody in Fountain, they need more support than just their own skill, their own prowess with the weapon. And as much as Drunks has been landing his shots in this match, that is a desperate position to put him in.
Doesn't help that I think he was killed through the wall as well.
Yeah, I mean,
when you have somebody playing in Fountain largely unsupported, the only crossfire that you're going to see from somebody in Fountain Red is going to be inside of Archives, and I don't think Drunks had the coverage from his teammates. You're right, it's a rough spot for him to be in.
It happens. I mean, that mostly comes down, again, that just comes down to the setup for Mints. So I think that there definitely needs to be some correction there. Right now we're going to Vents, so a little bit different. We have already seen Vents, of course. See what INTZ can do here this time around.
Every single take that we've witnessed from Singularity has come from the same side. It's always been an Eastern take from them. They have assembled over on East Stairs. They open up offices, whether they're aided by a drop hatch being opened up already, or whether there's somebody playing aggressively in one of the offshoots of office, whether it be Fountain or whether it be Archives, etc. Lendon needs to be very careful. He almost dropped down the hatch there, but he just narrowly avoids it as he's going to head on over towards office. There's a drone actually at his feet that he didn't notice, and he's getting spotted, so he's very wary of it, but the Mozzie will be able to get it away, and with it, we see 3 members of INTZ immediately reposition. In fact, they've gone over now towards monitors, so they know that the take is going to come in, and they've established this beachhead on the opposite end of the map from where the entry of Singularity is coming in.
Ooh, a bad shot there from Duds. Landa lands his, and the support of Vitz will not be able to get the refrag. So, INTZ now, a man down, as we hit the last minute of the round. You hate to see situations play out like that. If Duds had been elevated on the desk he was standing next to, he would have been able to get that kill into Linda, but not so. You know, and on that note, the attack strategy we're seeing from Singularity, I mean, remember when Empire used to do this same kind of thing? Where they would always come from office and it worked for them?
Yep.
That was I mean, that was a while ago, but still.
Soft destruction in and a successful down from Hunter. He gets the kill he needs as BNX is there for 1 as well. But still the advantage will be in favor of Singularity based off of that early pick. There's been no ground made up from INTZ. And in fact, they might be in a tough position. But it appears that great patience from Drunks will work out quite well. He knows there's somebody there waiting for the thermite to pop up. He drops 1, but he can't flick onto the ash. The target prioritization is not there, and the oversight. He doesn't even get the final kill on the thermite. He'd simply down him. Hunter will go on a rampage, and Singularity will net the remaining members of INTZ as they scramble to make up for what is a small mistake committed from one of their members. INTZ haunted right now by these 2 rounds. They cannot break the highest round total that they have had so far this split. And it's a 4-2 through the first half as Singularity manages to come back and grab all of the momentum in this match.
Oh no, Parker. Is this going to be another 7-2 for INTZ? I can't imagine. There's no way they're going to get at least 1 attack round. I'm sure of it, right? I don't know.
I have no idea.
For those of you who don't know, we talked about it a little bit in the preamble. Basically, INTZ has gotten only in the second half of the season. They've gotten a maximum of 2 rounds every match that they've played. So, in fact, I think that's the only round count they've had, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Have they ever gotten
7-2, 7-2, 7-2, 7-2 so far this half?
Yeah. So they've been 7-2'd. They've been 2-7, I guess, if you want to be technical about it. But yeah, it's not been a good, second half for INTZ. And I'm expecting that they'll get at least 1 more round in this match. I expect that, right?
I mean, they've been very consistent.
They have. But okay, no, but they're going on to attack a border. Border is a fairly attackable map. And, you know, I'm sure they're driven to not have another 7-2.
I mean, hell if I know, honestly. I have stopped. I'm still doing predictions, but I have stopped trying to be accurate in how they are because teams are just doing silly things a lot of times. Though there's nothing really been that silly about this matchup. It's actually been pretty straightforward, and more than anything, it's been quite impressive with the way that Singularity has played. I can't really we can't really poke fun at what we're seeing from these two teams.
Singularity have been playing fairly well, yeah. There have been some moments from INTZ as well that have, they've done decently in certain moments, like I said, but it mostly comes down to individual players on INTZ. That's what I'm noticing. Like, I'm seeing a lot of talent displayed on an individual scale, but I'm seeing next to no coordination, next to no team play from INTZ, at least. They seem to like have a basic idea of what they want to accomplish, and they kind of haphazardly scramble to get that done. And it's definitely not as much of a team play sort of deal coming from INTZ. On the side of Singularity, there's a little bit more teamwork, and I think that's probably why they've found themselves in a 4-2 situation. But from both teams, it's definitely been very. There's been a lot of sloppiness, to be honest.
I would agree that I think the teamwork has been definitely in Singularity's favor, and the sloppiness that you mentioned from INTZ has just been more individual play. And I think that ties into the coordination aspect as well. Very little times did we see somebody playing supported by another on INTZ's side. And even right now, look at the damage that's been done to both Vits and Drunks. This is done in a way where there's been nobody to try to inflict that same pain onto Singularity when those gunfights are going down. These skirmishes are occurring all over the map, and Singularity is not being punished for it. That is obviously not what you want to see. But there you go, finally, a bit of action as the Zofia is droned in and then held an angle to protect by Drunks, and well, INTZ has control of security, but they've got 30 seconds remaining. That's it, not a lot of time to go. And with that, Singularity has now repositioned. A pre-fire, but a missed shot, or a perfect trade, rather. Wow, you don't see those all of the time. KDS exchanges his life for duds, but the advantage still in INTZ's favor. They'd taken some damage to both the IQ and the Maverick earlier on, so they'll be weaker heading into the site. But Singularity down a man will have to just simply hang on. This is an armory take that will happen, and as the smoke turns his back, this will be rough. Catches 1, 2, downs. The scoreboard is Singularity's, and so is the round. They'll take their very first defense off a big play from the anchors. And INTZ, yet again, are not supporting each other. You do see it from Singularity's side of things. Impressive stuff.
Yes, solid hold there from Singularity. I gotta say, the way that they played their angles, you could see that they were aware of who was holding what. There was a little bit of hesitation on the commitment to the angle play. You could tell by the way the mute was flailing his arms around and trying to figure out which angle he needed to hold. But at the same time, everybody eventually came to the same conclusion. Everybody eventually said, okay, I'm holding this, you're holding that, and we will win our gunfights. And well, Singularity did just that. They accounted for all the angles, they held all the angles, they worked together as a unit, and everything went just dandy. Peachy keen for them, despite the man disadvantage that they had acquired earlier in the round. So, solid job to Singularity. In something at the hand. The way that they tried to play that out, rushed into the bomb site all in unison. But it wasn't actually in unison, and that's a big part of the problem. The way that they came in through Armory Wall was a little bit too quick, because the sledge coming up from metal stairs was behind in the action, and thus unable to capitalize upon the distraction that the Armory Wall rush gave to Singularity. So it wasn't, it was, again, a story of that coordination, of that teamwork, and the superior nature of Singularity's teamwork. Good job to them. They'll put us on the precipice of match point. So one more round, and Singularity will be pushing us to at least, at minimum, a draw. But at this rate, it's seeming a whole lot like Singularity should be able to take this. As much as that was, in the man count, a close round, at no point in the last round did INTZ have a strong bid for site control. Duds will get 2 kills in CCTV. He'll lead off this round very, very well. Looks like CCTV and 90. And with that control that is established by INTZ and the man count advantage, this is probably the most aggressive, most early advantaged round for the attack we've seen in this entire match. With that, they'll be able to launch an attack onto the site very leisurely. They'll be able to do it whenever they see fit. Did Drunks just get out of the spawn?
I think so. I mean, you can maybe sit there and just drone your teammates in? I'm not sure. I mean, leisurely is a good way of putting it, but this is already a better round for INTZ than we've seen in many previous rounds, and I think this is going to be their best bet to finally get over that hurdle. There's another for them, and I fail to see how Rise and Souls will be able to stop this. Not the artillery, not the armada that you want nor need, and it's very close to being a flawless round.
Yeah,
how fitting that would be if it's a flawless round to give them that third and pivotal round. Souls obviously will have to ignore the drone that's been just harassing him constantly, and there goes a grenade, some damage done to him. INTZ is just going to be able to pressure in now. They know that Souls can't get out. The only real way that he'd be able to drop would be the hatch. He's likely not going to open it up. Diffuser is going. It's a sight down below. He's not going to be able to do anything with it. He takes Alimao out of action. And pre-fired, but he's once again getting droned out. And this is just him playing with time, as the round is all but assuredly INTZ's. Beautiful shot from Souls, but these are impactless frags. And an impactful round from INTZ as they finally do better than 2 rounds in their matches.
Oh, great round there to Duds. So I'm a little bit surprised by what we just saw there, because most of it comes down to Duds springing into action faster than Singularity can react. And it was the fact that he just kind of attacked CCTV head on. Clearly, Singularity was not expecting that. And those 2 kills that he got in CCTV turned it into pretty much a done deal. Would have been hard for INTZ to lose that one at that point, just because of the time that was available following the kills. Now, that is, as you said, the first time in the second half that INTZ has managed to get 2 rounds. So massive props, or sorry, more than 2 rounds. Massive props to INTZ for 3. We'll see if they can push it further than that. It's still possible that INTZ will be able to win this. Keep in mind that this could just come down to being, you know, an attacker-sided border. Sometimes maps and their side preference do come down to the teams that are actually playing in the match. Often we'll see an attacker-sided Villa just because of the nature of the teams who are playing on Villa. And, you know, that's unusual, but, or I guess it's unusual in what you, in the conventional wisdom, but it's not so unusual in that it happens actually, well, quite frequently.
So this is a big ceremony and a good moment for INTZ. A feel-good moment. Though I'm not, it sounds like mockery, but it's really not. It's just INTZ have had such a rough run of this first split that, or of the second split, that it's obviously something that has played in their minds, and I have no doubt that they are very aware of their inability to do more than 2. You know, it's almost as if there's something else I can think of that can never count past 2, a certain game company. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day, I'm sure. Anyway, INTZ were able to do it with greater precision and honestly a little bit of help from Singularity, who just got too aggressive and really shouldn't have taken those fights. And when you find yourself, like Singularity is, in such a great position, and knowing that throughout this match Singularity has been far and away the better team, you can take those chances and you can get away with them because you know they're not going punished. Just as the entry was going in, it was going unpunished when it was Singularity on attack. There was no trading that was happening from INTZ, and that was going unpunished. So you can begin to be a little bit more loose with the way that you play. Who's going to get the opening pick here now? A utility from INTZ is being used onto Lenda, and it's a full collapse. He gets downed and finished off by the Goyo shield, but the man responsible for his death technically is Souls. His utility comes into play in regards to him picking up the very next kill, and it's going to be back to a 4v4.
Vitz will also get Hunter, though, who's playing inside an office, and Vitz did eat a lot of damage in that engagement, but the kill is in, and the advantage is for INTZ. Great display of why not to play right next to a Goyo shield if you have nowhere to retreat to by Lenda. So now we're learning things.
Enemy located.
Singularity set up primarily on the bottom floor, but they still have 1 player upstairs, that's Souls. And he'll get 1, do a lot of damage to VNX before being finished off by him. Still man advantage to INTZ, but with VNX on low HP, he is going to be pretty easy to kill for either of these players remaining on Singularity. Rise being tasked with holding the site while KDS goes for a little bit of a flank, trying to get a better angle on the B-bomb site from Customs. Meanwhile, the rest of INTZ are trying their best to drone the top floor, establish that they yes indeed do have full control for executing onto the bomb site.
Just quickly it's kind of funny how quickly everything just fell apart there, and given the fact that KDS is playing off-site, this could be more of a challenge for them. Though 1 or 2 shots from the MPX will be enough to fell VNX, just as the SMG-11 doesn't do a ton of damage, but the high rate of fire can be really strong and prove to be a little bit too difficult for INTZ to be able to deal with. There goes one of the volcanic shields. Pre-fire. And, well, KDS is going to be going hunting, but there's nobody that's going to cross into his line of sight. Unfortunately, he's given his position away, and if he goes down, then Rise has an even greater difficulty. Plant from Drunks being attempted. Nobody's going to be able to stop it as the pings are continuously coming in. Avoiding the flash is the smoke. KDS finds one. Still VNX on low HP, but all of INTZ has repositioned. And they're above. They're very low on HP, and they've got the cross that's needed. KDS with 1 kill to add to his second. He's going to need to attempt that diffuser and find the sledge. We see how powerful a Valkyrie can be in the right hands. Latin America loves her usage, and ascending the top of the stairs is KDS. He's going to have to dare the sledge into a 1v1, but he's making so much noise. The comeback is very real for INTZ, as they take the round after the objective goes down, and they hold firm in the post plant.
Alamau locking that up. Good job to him playing it very smart, playing it in a post-plant kind of mentality. And it wasn't just him, it was the rest of his team. After INTZ got that plant down, they really repositioned. They knew where they could hold that diffuser from. And, well, they went to those locations, those safe spots. And that's what you expected to see out of Singularity in that round where they managed to get that diffuser plant, but then ended up not doing it on the execution to, or getting the plant, but not playing in a post-plant sort of mindset when they were attacking on Armory in the last half. In that round, the lack of control on the bomb site can mostly be attributed to the loss of the top floor so quickly. And the reason why the top floor was lost so quickly from Singularity is because the primary roam was actually not in office, where office is by far and away, for Teller's defense, the most crucial location to hold. Because of its power over the bomb site, Singularity barely put any thought into holding office. They had players there, yes, but not nearly enough, and they fell back from that office hold, inevitably. So, yeah, I mean, that shouldn't be the case. You're supposed to hold office for the extent of a Teller's hold, generally speaking. Treat it as the pseudo-anchor position, because it is the position that will give you the most control over your own bomb site and allow you to actually deny a plant from happening like it just did.
Touched upon the fact that there was still an opportunity for INTZ to be able to come back on this based on the way that Border is played, and I think you're absolutely correct. But you were correct at the time, but it's been proven to be right as well with these 2 consecutive rounds for INTZ coming in on attack. Just with the way that Border plays out, and with the way that you see these bans obviously affecting it. The utility soak meta that we're in right now really can't do all that much, especially not if teams just decide to rush right in. And INTZ, largely being led by this Finka, who has taken the role of the hard breacher on their lineup, has now resulted in 4 casualties, 2 from each side. That's 40 seconds. 40 seconds, and 4 people are dead. So, while INTZ has now cleared out most of the off-site presence from Singularity, the greater question is, all right, well, you've been able to go in, but now you've slowed down just a touch. You picked off the roamers, you need to pressure the site, and the lineup that you see from the defenders of Singularity remaining is pretty good. You've got a Maestro, a Smoke, and a Wamai still available. That Wamai's magnets will gain strength the longer that he's alive. He'll be able to toss more and more out as the countdown timer continues on those gadgets. And then, of course, you've got the plant denial of both the Evil Eyes and the Toxic Canister. So Singularity is not in bad shape with this.
Singularity has the control that they need. They've got a decent array of anchors and a nice set of utility. It's all on INTZ to apply enough pressure in the limited time available. That seems like a misnade from the sledge. It detonated outside of Armory Wall. Yeah, that's definitely a nade. You can tell by the explosive residue. Alamau will hit the shot onto Souls, though, as Souls was attempting to haphazardly peek over half wall. KDS will get Vitz, who is trying to rappel up on Sandwich Rappel to cut off that rotation. That's a really important kill from KDS, and as he vaults into small, there could be another one right after, but no, he's down. It's all on Rise now to get 2. He's 1, knows another in-plant spot, can't land his shots. It's a really awkward engagement. The sledge will make a hole to rotate, and beautifully played from Alamau, getting the last kill and finishing the round for his team. INTZ will take yet another attack, and that comeback is well in hand now.
A lot of action happening at the start. Clear out the roamers, have the control that you need, and then the very rare armory take that we see, as both of these teams had originally wanted to pressure from over on East, and then you sub out the hard breach and you just simply rush into the site. Finca is an operator that sees seldom play outside of Latin America. I think it really fits the play style that a lot of these Brazilian teams have, which is extraordinarily aggressive, very well aimed, and just engaging in gun duels regardless of whatever utility is present. Now, one of the best counters to the meta that we're in from a lot of teams has simply been to just kind of ignore it, which is very strange. And we've seen it from many teams across many regions where, you know what, if we just take gunfights and we just push in, just drone out, if they're not using Mozzie correctly, if they're not using mute correctly, just take as much ground as quickly as you can and just win your gunfights. Two people burst on in and you're going to prevail in that fight. You've won your 50-50. You've now just picked up a massive amount of land on this map for yourself, and it's land for the taking a lot of times. That's exactly what we saw from INTZ, and they traded out because Singularity are great aimers. They're able to rebuff attacks because they can land their shots. Once again, very much a hallmark of all these Brazilian teams. But after that, it was very likely that INTZ could have stalled out. You don't have a hard breacher. You might be lacking utility. You've still got a Finca on the board, but the jig is up. People know what's coming. Your opponents know that you've still got a Finca in play and that it's going to be some kind of rush. So you have to slow down and be a little bit more precise as to how you actually pull off the next 90 seconds for your team. And INTZ did so by taking that armory wall, assessing that most of the Singularity were either far back in armory or over by archives, and that you could slowly chip away at them and hope to win your gunfights, as they did. And they just continued to go down until it was a 2v2 with a little bit of an unnecessary peak from Singularity, not in touch with one another, ultimately costing them the advantage that they had, which was that the clock was running down and you were playing on defense.
With the push in, Vitz trying to find more of those opportunities you were talking about. Those gaps in the defense. Doesn't seem like there's anybody downstairs right now for Singularity. They're not able to find anything, but he will at least be able to do some serious work as an IQ from below. Yeah, the bottom four fully clear. Hunter looking to drop, and he'll be the first victim of Vitz. Basically a freebie. Alamal hits a nade onto Lenda. Suddenly, this is looking a whole lot like INTZ taking control of a round once again. It's so frequently the case that we see INTZ get 2 kills early in a match and they go unresponded to by Singularity. Last round was a little bit better than this. Duds is just gonna walk into office. This is what barbed wire is great for. This is what door barricades are great for. Stopping what's about to happen. Duds an easy one tap, and he'll move on into archives. With that control, he can do a whole lot of work. He'll get a second, looking for the third. Soul's the last player by half wall. So once again, I want to reiterate my advice, but I'll let Souls finish his piece before this is over. Firebolt will burn him alive, and he's dead. So what you can do is you can put, again, barricades, barbed wire, judgment mines, lesion traps, a player holding the angle, information tools, Valkyrie cams, evil eyes, bulletproof cameras. And I'm sure there's a couple other layers that I'm forgetting about, but I'm just going to end it there. You could put those in positions that you're not sure about or that you think you need to have information on so that someone like Duds can't just crouch walk in and get free control and free kills and what have you. And if you do this, then you'll, generally speaking, you'll probably have a much better, much more comprehensive defense in the round.
We were impressed by the run that Singularity went on through basically the first half of this matchup, picking up 4 rounds in a row and just simply outclassing INTZ on attack, and then kind of continuing that on defense with the way that they were able to just give up control and then take it back. Singularity, when on that very first defense, kind of relinquished control earlier than you expected, and then just retook it very quickly, and were able to survive, and then went off of those gunfights. INTZ changed up their strategy an awful lot. They decided to be far hungrier when it came to those entries and more daring. And I don't think Singularity was expecting that, the aggressiveness that you can see on attack usually outclasses that on defense, because the attackers know that they need to work with time, they need to work against the clock, and they need to be able to pick up parts of the map before they can pull off getting the diffuser down. And INTZ have made a couple small changes, whether it be, attacking from different areas, whether it be just simply rushing in and pressuring the roamers, who now, in their best INTZ impression, Singularity's roamers are not particularly well supported with one another. And INTZ is now lined up to do this yet again. And oh my goodness, they are away to the races. They are just bursting right in. They've got match point. This is the very final round. INTZ are in the site. 4 members. Down goes Rise. Ali Mao is watching from the front. Diffuser going down from Drunks. And Singularity have nothing to do. They'll drop through the hatches, but it's perfectly covered by INTZ. Hunter's next up. He'll manage to drop duds. Finished off. Lendit taken out by VNX. And my oh my, Diffuser's still there. It's all on Souls, who from above is traded out, and not just breaking the 2 rounds that had been so commonplace for them this half, but additionally, they take the entire win. Impressive stuff from INTZ as they grab 3 points, almost assuring that they won't be finishing dead last here in Latin America. A really admirable comeback, and they do it with no land left for them at all. That's the very final round, and they'll win 7-5 against Singularity.
Great job to INTZ clutching it up in the end, like a hot knife through butter. Defense was actually not... they were not holding anything. They weren't holding the teller's side. They didn't reinforce the wall.